Alias 2025 was released today, and I'd like to show you an improvement on one of the Dynamo Player patterning tools. Looking at my front grille, I've used a Dynamo patterning tool called Place and Scale by Picture to create this. Previously, you could only place curves. In this version, you can also place objects. And they do have history. I also used the Parquet tool to create this object, which has been cloned onto my base surfaces. And if I want to fill in this area, I can just pick that CV, and maybe I don't know which direction I want to pull it. So while I'm fooling around with that, I can suspend history. But before I update that, I want to make sure I'm working in my construction plane I've already created. So I will pick it, and under my construction tab in my palette, I will set that construction plane first. Going back to that CV, I'm just going to pull it down just a tad and something like that. And when I'm ready, I'll uncheck Global Suspend, wait for it to update my pattern. And now it looks a bit better. So you can play around with both the attributes in your Dynamo Player toolbox and with the inputs. So I'll show you how I created this using a different pattern and a different picture. The grille I showed you used this simple ramp. And I'm going to use something a little more edited in Photoshop for my next example. Here's how the curves look using that black and white image. So the next step after setting your construction plane is you need to create a picture. And the reason you need to set that construction plane in the first place is it's telling the camera to look head-on in the view that you choose. So if I toggle to my other XYZ construction plane, to create one, you would just say create a 3-point construction plane, and I'm control snapping to some of these CVs. And then you would hit set. I've already done that, so I'll just delete this construction plane. Make sure I'm in it by picking it and toggling and saying set to it. And before we get to the place and scale picture, I need to use the second one called create picture. And I need to tell it where to save that picture. Select the folder, and I need to name it something. And then it's asking me to pick the surfaces to pattern. So I'll choose all these. And when you hit accept and build, it appears that nothing's happening. Well, there is a script, but after it's finished, your scene isn't going to change. But if you look in that folder, it did create this grille image. So I can go into Photoshop and change it however I choose. It does create a very small image. And you don't want to make it too large or it will create memory problems. I scaled it by 400% and did my image modifications on it, and then you can either leave it fairly small like this, it worked, or you can scale it back down and resave it. Last time I chose these curves as input to be placed on my grille surfaces. This time I want to place objects. So I'll go back to my place and scale tool, and if you already have something generated, you can query edit any part of it, and it will load your toolbox with the settings that were originally used. I'm going to change the objects to place from curves to objects. And then I'm going to clear the geometry to place. Instead of the curves, I'll clear it and select this object created using the hexagon tool. And then I'll accept and build it. The surfaces to pattern do need to have G1 or G2 continuity. So here you can see the min and max scale controlled the size of the objects, and the darker parts of my image controlled where there are more objects placed, and in the lighter areas there's less of a concentration of these objects.